What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer doing a complete guide for Ice Barrier here in 2023. Very fun deck to play, one of my favorite casual decks, maybe of all time. And I'm just going to go through the card by card and we'll just go from there. And after the deck profile, I'm going to show a bunch of combos, and then after that, I'm going to show a bunch of gameplay. So you'll be very familiar with the deck if you don't know what it does, or at least the way I play it. I'm sure there's like a bunch of different variations, but it didn't seem like too many people are playing this recently, and I thought I'd make a video about it. Okay, so onto the hand traps. Just pretty obvious. 9, right? You gotta at least play, I feel like, if you want to play in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! 3 Imperm, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 Ash Blossom. I've thought about changing this to Ghost Bell, and obviously it can come down to your preference. If you feel like you need to play Lightning Storm or whatever the case may be, I just feel like these generic hand traps are actually pretty decent. And more importantly, and that's kind of what this is all about, is this is a casual deck, so those very specific anti-meta cards like Ghost Bell probably not going to work against some of these other decks, right, that you're going to be playing, because you're not going to be playing Tier Limit with this deck. Hopefully not. So that's why I play these cards. 1 Penguin Ninja. This is part of a very specific combo with Penguin Brave, but essentially, like, the whole goal of the deck is to put up anti-spell fragrance. You can see here, Warlock says, while you control another Ice Barrier monsters, both players must set spell cards before activating them. You don't really have to worry about that. You're going to be activating spells before that ever happens, and as you can see, it's a very small portion of it, so it's never going to hurt you. It literally has never hurt me one time, but your opponent probably a lot more. And there's going to be these scenarios where you can use or have Warlock out, and then you can also go into Penguin Knight or Penguin Brave, bringing out Penguin Ninja. And what this card does, it lets you flip, send 2 spells and traps from your opponent back into their hand. So if they have like Dark Rule no more, well, that's too bad, because they're going to go right back, to the hand, and essentially creates a never-ending loop where your opponent can't activate normal spell cards, which can win you the duel by itself, right? In really, all you need is 1 turn. There's usually not going to be a turn 3 if your opponent essentially just passes because they can't play. And you'll see plenty of that, because that's like pretty much how the whole deck works. Okay, and onto Abyss Shark. This is the best extender by far in the deck. So it's a free special summon. This is like a pure water deck. There are literally no other kinds of monsters that you're going to be summoning. Everything's water, so this is not a restriction. This is a free extender. But more importantly, it can search out Crystal Shark. Crystal Shark is a card that can special summon itself from the hand, so it works really, really well with Master of the Ice Barrier. I keep saying Master. It's Revealer of the Ice Barrier, so this lets you discard a card to special summon. So by discarding Crystal Shark, you're basically not losing any advantage at all, and that's like one of the best interactions of with the deck, just in general, right? It brings itself out, brings out Crystal Shark, you discard, and you can put a really good end board up. And you can also search Silent Angler too. And just in case, because you're running both of these at 3, if you open one of the other ones, you can special summon this and search out Silent Angler, and that's also very good. It's just a free 4. And Atlantean Dragoons, speaking of discards, is also really good, right? You can discard Atlantean Dragoons with Ice Barrier, and that can search you a couple cards. So that's going to be either Lapis or it's going to be Mooling Glacia. I love Lapis because when it's added to the hand, it's a free special summon. It's a level 5 tuner, and that's obviously very important. There's tons of things you can do with this card. It's also just a level 5, so lots of really cool cards you can go into with rank 5s, and then obviously being a synchro material is really important, because you don't really want your only synchro options to be through Revealer. You'd like there to be other options, and luckily there is. Mooling Glacia is just very niche scenarios where if you can search it, and then if you have 5 waters in the graveyard, you could special summon it and rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. It does come up just on all the times. Most of the time you're going to be searching out Lapis, but it's nice to have this extra option when you use it. And this card is like, I don't know, you'll see a duel where it literally wins me the duel. My opponent can't play through it, so when your opponent won't activate a monster effect on the field, they have to discard a card or their effect is negated. So if you're playing a trap heavy deck and you can bring this out, your opponent's not activating monster effects like at all. They can't, right? They don't have any cards in their hand. If they set 5 and this is out, then that's it. So I'm thinking of like Dinomorphia. This is a very good card against it. Any of those combo decks that you see in casual, Genra Ryo is actually fantastic. But most of the time you're going to be going into Warlock, and you'll see how the combos work in a second. But I like to run 1 copy of this just in case, I have Revealer and Speaker in my hand, and I still have Medallion, which does come up every once in a while. This is also a decent bridge that you can go through for Small World. Yeah, I like this card. Of course, 3 Revealer and 3 Speaker. These are the best cards in the deck, other than Frost Spirit. And Warlock, I've been talking about an anti-spell fragrance. Cryomancer is just another tuner. You don't go into this too often, but you do want to have another option when you go for Mirror Master. I'm going to call it that the entire video. Revealer, right? You want to bring out another tuner because you're always first going to go into Hexa, but like going on the follow-up, if you had this card in your hand, you want access to another tuner, and 2 is pretty much the best number that you can go through. This is Zujin of the Ice Barrier. This is a card that is good follow-up if it's in the graveyard. It's just an extra body. It's good for synchro summoning, like mainly, but also it contributes itself to bring out high-level ones. So these two cards kind of combo well together. And of course, you can send Zujin to the graveyard using Frost Spirit. This is a Foolish Burial, and there's lots of good Foolish Burial targets, right? Warlock and Zujin essentially being the 2 that you're going to go through. 2 Moray of Greed. This is like, it's a card that is either great or it's not great. It's kind of weird. Sometimes you have everything you need in your hand and you don't want to send it back and potentially draw bricks, but sometimes I see this card, I see 2 bricks, and then I draw a bunch of cards that I really need. So it's worth playing. 3 is too much in case you draw into an extra copy of it. 2 seems to be like the perfect ratio for me. I do like this card. I think it's worth playing because you do play a lot of bricks technically, right? These 2, like this is good discard fodder, so I'm not going to call this one. These cards you don't really want to see in your hand too often, and of course like Penguin Ninja you also don't want to, so that's kind of where this card comes in. It's not the end of the world because these are all low attack monsters that can be brought back with Barence's Coral Anemone, so nothing's like too crazy. Really the only one you don't want to see too much in your hand, unless like the truly like the 1 brick in the deck, is Hexa Spirit of the Ice Barrier, but it is what it is. That's why I play Moray of Greed. Medallion is a non-once return Omni Searcher for the deck, which is fantastic. And then Small World. So if you guys saw my gameplay video last time, I was playing Ice Jades, and I'm going to show you that alternate deck profile here in just a second. But if you want to play this right now, and to be honest, I kind of do too, you can play Small World. So this is a good bridge. It's actually one of the easiest bridges like decks in the game. These are spellcasters or like Effect Veiler, right? These line up through being tuners. And then these are spellcasters. Your main play starters are spellcasters, so they connect perfectly, you know, with your hand traps that you play in the deck. Some of them only, you know, go through being waters. These are spellcasters. That's a warrior. This is a sea serpent. So tons of ways to get to the cards that you want. So Smart World actually works pretty well. You just have to go -1, of course. Onto the extra deck. Trishula, Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This is one of my favorite cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it's really cool. Non-targeting banishment of 3 cards, which is always a good thing. And I do like to have regular Trishula. You know, this is Ice Barrier, so you kind of want to play it, but it's also a good card. There's also a really cool interaction where if you're going into turn 3 and you have Penguin Ninja, you have Frost Spirit, and you're probably going to have Warlock, there's a situation where you can go into, you know, Trishula and then bring back like Warlock, so you get to like banish a bunch of cards and then still have that spell after you've bounced 2 cards to their hand, and that works out pretty well. Most of the time it's hard to get into Trishula 0, but you can almost always go into Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier with these cards. There's other generic 9s. Like I said, this is a 5, and it can also bring back with Coral Anemone. It's less than 1500 attack, so it pairs well with any level 4. And this requires 3 monsters versus this one, which requires only 2. So when this card is special summon, you can target face-up cards your opponent controls, which is important. Not face-up monsters, face-up cards, up to the number of tuners in your graveyard, negate their effects until the end of this turn. And then if it's destroyed, you get to add a tuner to your hand, which is always decent. And it's actually really cool because adding a tuner to your hand, this card, when it's added from main deck, you know, to your hand, you get to special summon it. If it's added from graveyard to hand, you also get to special summon it. So these 2 cards have really good synergy in them. Is that actually the same monster? Is that what the point of this is? I just realized this right now. These look exactly the same. If you look at the monsters in these 2 artworks, it could be the same one. In any case, this is good against trap decks, right? Like some of those continuous spells, if you can negate something for just a little bit of time. It's a machine, so it's also plays around some of those really heavy floodgates, like there could be only 1. So that's why I like to play this card. It has come up for me for sure. It's a decent 27 attack body too. And then, you know, I do play the regular Ice Barrier stuff. These cards do come up, and it works really well with Revealer, right? Instead of discarding, you can banish it instead, because this card doesn't have any use in the graveyard. You can't really bring it back. It has, if this had 1500 attack, that'd be great, but it doesn't, so you'll end up just, you know, getting rid of it. You can either destroy cards, you can return cards to the hand. I like to have both, and you're definitely going to be in these scenarios where you have all of these options available to you. So these cards come up all the time. Penguin Brave I've talked about because I want to have another 6 option because 6 is one of the more common ones because during your second go around you're probably sending Zujin and you have a level 4. So you're going to have a 6 available, and Penguin Brave isn't always the best option, right? Sometimes your opponent isn't playing those spell and trap heavy decks and you want to be a little offensive. Brionac is a way to do that. Brionac can help you a lot. Going on to the XYZs is a cool archetype. It goes into like all like the major summoning mechanics essentially. This is N.A.S.H, so this is a once per turn non-targeting attachment. So this is very good to get around hard to beat effects. You know, one of those being like Ice Jade is probably one of those that you want to go into. Just anything else, anything that falls into this category. So that goes along with a couple of cards. You want to be able to use the effect twice. So what it has to detach a number monster between 101 and 107 in its name. So that's number 101, which you can use just generically. It's a water. Or you can go into number 103, right? But mainly you're going to go into this card using, you know, Crystal Shark and Abyss Shark. And you're going to have 2 targets, right? You're going to be able to use it once, and then you can attach it again to get rid of 2 of your opponent's monsters. Decent 2700 attack body, too. Or defense, I should say. This card, if your opponent's monster has a different attack level, you could destroy it and then draw a card. So that's kind of good against Access Code Talker, I guess, right? Because it's going to have a different attack. It's never really going to come up, and you'll see in the alternate, like, where this, you know, card slide. There's, like, so many options you can do when it comes to this card, but I like these because I like to use N.A.S.H twice because it's extremely good form of removal. Bahamut Shark goes with Toadally Awesome, of course. You're going to be making level 4s is kind of like the specialty of the deck, right? The heart of this entire deck is 4s, so that's where this comes in. Number 4, Stealth Kragen, you want to use it twice, and I do actually like to play 1 Stealth Kragen spawn, so card advantage is not going to be your friend in this deck, and you kind of have to find ways to make that up, and one of those is going to be Kragen spawn. So when this is destroyed, you get to bring 2 of these out, but I've always had 2 and they don't really do anything at all. So what happens is this gets destroyed, this brings out this, your opponent destroys it, and it brings back Stealth Kragen. Stealth Kragen is a stop once per turn, so if you destroy something, they destroy it, you bring out Stealth Kragen, you bring out the spawn gets destroyed, you bring this out, you can destroy again. So this is like one of the best cards in the deck, obviously. It works well with Crystal Shark, works good with Abyss Shark. These 2 cards are really, really amazing. And then Coral Anemone. Really, you could probably drop 103 and, you know, grab another Coral Anemone just because of how good this card is. Brings back essentially anything in your deck from the graveyard. Crystal Shark is one. Abyss Shark is another one. Penguin Ninja, which is super fantastic because it can make itself go face down. So that's obviously a very good thing. And it also has 2000 attack. Like, really good for a Link too. I can't think of too many that have this kind of attack level with such a good effect. Okay, onto the side deck. Medium of the Ice Barrier. The side deck isn't really all that crazy, but if your opponent controls 4 more cards than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand, and your opponent can only activate 1 spell and trap card each turn. So if your opponent's playing a very spell and trap heavy deck, this card is very good against that. It can also just be good as like maybe a free special summon to get over like a Toadally Awesome or whatever the case may be. These cards can at least crash with each other, so it doesn't get that, and this is just a free card at that point. So I like the synergy there. General Wayne, if you control an Ice Barrier and your opponent controls a monster, lets you add a card to your hand. So this card's decent, depends on the matchup, but like I said, I don't know how I feel about these cards. Lightning Storm, Harpies, you know, Dark Ruler, and Evenly, those are just pretty standard stuff. Now, when you're going second, a couple of cool things that you can do is you can obviously get rid of Penguin Ninja. It's probably not going to be too relevant, right? You can get rid of Mulling Glacier because that's not really going to be around too much, which technically means you can get rid of Zujin. But I do like to kind of have it as an extender, but there are options that you can do to give yourself even more going second cards, like closer to 12. And I'll usually take out General Ryo too. So that's 1, 2, 3, and that gives you, you know, 3 more spots for extra deck or for going second cards, which is great. 12 going second cards is usually pretty darn good. Okay, so now we can go into the other one, and there's literally only one difference. So I took out 1 Crystal Shark, and there's this new Ice Jade card coming out called Ice Jade Ron. Let's just call it Ron. You discard a water monster, it brings out a free token, and lets you go into this really cool card. And you're going to see it a lot in these gameplay videos because this is how I play the deck. Basically, quick effect, you can make all cards, all monsters you control, not all cards, that'd be crazy, unable to be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects. So very, very, very good against Albaz. Like, that's obviously like insane. Your opponent tries to activate Mirror Jade, you just chain it. Nothing gets banished. His gets banished. They chain to destroy everything. Nothing happens, right? All the monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. If your opponent activates a field spell, you can chain it. That gets rid of it too, right? Against a Libromancer field spell, that's incredible. Continuous spells, it's very good too. So can't wait for this card to come out. I think it got announced very recently, so I have no idea, but that's literally the only difference between the two deck lists. All right, so now let's go ahead and go into the combos. I'm going to show you the small world stuff first. So I'm going to go ahead and banish the Moulin Glacier because I just can't use it right now. I'm not going to be able to put 5 in the graveyard, you know, the way that my hand's currently structured. So this is actually like a really good small world right here because it lets you search Abyss Shark, right? I revealed Moulin Glacier and I banished the Speaker. I already have a copy in my hand. It's just that this card is so good, your end board becomes like kind of crazy. At least for, you know, ice barriers, of course. So free special summon, that's a free special summon that searches Crystal Shark. Like I said, that's the discard fodder. Now I can use Hexa to Foolish Burial the Warlock. Go ahead and go into, you know, Bahamut Shark, give myself the token, go into a Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone brings back the Warlock, and then I can do Crystal Shark last. Got to be careful. Crystal Shark locks you into XYZ's after, not the whole turn, just after effect's been used. So you don't want to go into it before Coral Anemone, or you don't get that spell and trap lock. And that goes into Stealth Kragen. So what does this end board mean? And these are just test hands more than anything, right? This is, your opponent has to set spells. So quick play spells, normal spells, doesn't matter. Got to set them all. And then this is an Omni Negate, and this is a pop, essentially to protect it, right? One of the main plays is your opponent just normal summons something. This does give them minus 15, so it's got to have more than 1500 attack, which depends on the deck, right? You never know. Like, it's really good against Flu Under Ease, for example, I guess. And then luckily I had, you know, Ash in my hand too. But more importantly, this is the end board here, right? This is protection, so your opponent really is not going to be able to use spell cards. No Dark Ruler no more. None of that, which are the main outs to this. And the answer is I also have Toadally Awesome. And of course, Toadally Awesome can just add back Revealer to my hand. That's starting my combo over again. That's why I said you kind of want to have 2 tuners, you know, in your deck. Okay, so that's one combo. I'm just going to go through all of them really quickly. I want to show off the small world ones first because this is the TCG legal version of it. So Moray of Greed can search me, you know, new cards. I ended up finding a medallion, which is really nice. And now, again, I can use small world. So like I said, all these beginning ones are all like small world targets. And this hand wasn't great because I ended up drawing also into Warlock. And these are great. Like I said, these only match up through being tuners, and these match up through being spellcasters, which is awesome. Free special summon. So a hand that like literally like didn't do anything at the very least now has like a decent form of interruption plus follow-up, right? So I actually discarded Warlock because it was in my hand. So Zujin is good follow-up there. Toadally Awesome. And then I can make this token. My opponent can activate, you know, spell cards. And then I also have Imperm. Not the best end board in the world, but again, for ice barriers, I think that's all you can ask for, right? Whatever if your opponent has 5 spell cards or 4 spell cards, you're playing Runic or something, this is actually just very, very good. Okay, we'll just keep going, and one more small world, and then I'll have a bunch of regular other ones. So this is also good. This is a good showcase of small world because Lapis has to be added to the hand. So essentially this card's dead in your hand, but with small world it ends up just being a big bridge. So my bridge here ended up being Lapis. These line up through having 0 attack. That's it, just through having 0 attack. And again, these just line up through being spellcasters. So that works out very, very well. And some of them only line up through being waters too. Like I said, any bridge is essentially possible. So again, small world proving that a hand that wasn't going to do anything, essentially just a pass turn, ends up having some merit to it, right? No spell cards, Omni Negate, and Effect Bailer. Can't complain too much. All right, now we're getting into kind of the more fun stuff, and this is with the Ice Jade support. And I wanted to showcase this one because Atlantean Dragoons is not a once per turn. So 2 discards in this case ended up being great. Lapis gets added from deck to hand, so it's a free special summon. I can discard Dragoon again, and this is going to give me Moulin Glacier. So this is that quick effect, banish effect, and I'm also going to have those spell negates there. Now, I didn't have Speaker, so it kind of gets harder to extend because that token really does make a big difference. But at the very least, my opponent's only going to be starting with 4 cards in this case, right? And I have that quick effect banishment. My opponent can activate spell cards. So kind of a cool end board, a little bit more unique. All right, here's another scenario here. I can activate this. You know, Ryo is pretty decent just because it's good to have in your hand because you can go into Zujin. and I'm pretty sure I wanted to showcase at least one combo where I do that, and that's probably what I'm going to do. Lapis, again, just freely special summons there. I can go into Zujin, bring this back out. Especially when you have 2 hand traps like this, it's like almost worth it, like versus going into the spell and trap negate. So this is Imperm, this is Ash, and like really you're going second cards like a huge part of your end boards. So that's where the 9 hand traps come in. But my opponent has to discard a card, so their advantage is going to go very quickly by the wayside here. And I also like this combo because it leaves open the zone for Coral and Enemy. It has to bring it to the zone that it points to. So your follow-up is actually going to be half decent, right? Zujin can special summon itself, and then this can also bring back another monster, from the graveyard, which is fantastic, like Lapis or something. And that can help you go into some powerful synchros, plus whatever you get off the top. I did just want to showcase that. You're not going to go into that combo, very often, if at all. This is the best combo, like, ever, basically. This is like a perfect hand. So I wanted to show this last. This is not what you're going to see every time, but if you do, you're going to be in a good spot. Totally awesome. So I already have 1 interruption. These are actually, you can put up Toad before your 5th summon, or normally on your 5th summon, which is hilarious. So it kind of is anti-Nibiru proof in a way. Crystal Shark can come out. I can go into Stealth Kragen, and thus this is good, right? This is follow-up. This is follow-up. This is, Omni Negate, Pop, opponent can't activate spell cards. Fantastic stuff. Okay, so this is one more combo. It's probably very similar. Just loving having that discard fodder, and that's kind of the advantage of not playing the, the Mirror Jade stuff, or the Ice Jade. I said Mirror Jade. And I'm pretty sure this is just kind of the same scenario, but maybe having the Silent Angler could make the difference. I'm not sure. And Crystal Shark, that's right, because I had both of them in my hand, and that's the same end board. It's pretty consistent, like, overall. Smart World does actually make the deck just that much better. Okay, so now we're just going to go through all of these gameplay videos so you can get a really good look of how the deck is supposed to be played. My opponent has, Nadir's Servant. They have Forbidden Droplets. It's not going to matter because I'm going to have full combo. And this is where Moray Grade looks a little weird, but at the very least, it's just discard fodder because you want to be able to discard, Crystal Shark. And this is like full combo, which is great. It's a good way to start. Going into Warlock. Warlock can, get me here. I can go into Coral and Enemy. Discard, give myself the synchro. So this looks fantastic. This is even like better than the other one I showcased. This is even further beyond. This is a quick effect banish, right? So it's good for those play starters. Stealth Kragen, opponent can activate spell cards. Totally awesome. Let's see what you got. And it's another spell card off the top. He's going to set, and then I think that's just it. So pretty nice. Plus effect failure off the top. This is good follow-up. I'm just going to keep going with this kind of line of thought here. Okay, so we can go over to Bee Troopers. When am I ever going to be able to showcase Bee Troopers again? A couple of hand traps, or 3 hand traps. So my end board isn't going to be that crazy, but, all of these things combined are going to help me. I think what I'm going to do is prevent him from using spell cards, and I'm thinking the power of these hand traps should be enough interruption when it comes to monster effects. So we'll see what ends up happening. This is a bunch of cards. I forget what they do. They're actually low attack, which is kind of funny. Like he cannot get over Warlock. And this is where this comes in, right? This only affects monsters on the field, so he can't get over this. Okay. I now have a top deck of Abyss Shark, which is fantastic. This is like one of the crazy top decks that you can have. Special summon there. Go into Stealth Kragen, battle over Cecilia King. Didn't use a monster effect on the field. This deck actually specializes in doing that. He's going to shuffle back the Revealer, which is fine. Doesn't really do anything. He's going to try to search a spell and trap. I'm going to go ahead and pop there. Now, you can't activate spells because I don't have another Ice Barrier monster, unfortunately. But we'll see what we can do here. He's going to bring back Sting Lancer again. I have the Ash Blossom that I've been holding on to. He's going to go for Ball Shoot. This is like one of those newer cards. Insects don't have any problems with extenders. Kind of like Cybers, but unlike Cybers, Bee Troopers don't really have a good payoff. And I can just pop a card every turn. This card's really good. It's really good. This is against Buster Blader. Kind of a weird hand for him there. That's how Buster Blader works. I knew I was going second, so I had evenly matched. He had a really bad hand, so that's fine. This card's actually insane against Buster Blader because the trap needs to be in the graveyard, and that's not going to happen. I knew I was playing Buster Blader, so going into Penguin Brave is kind of like a really, not a top priority, but a very good thing, right? This card can banish itself from the graveyard to fusion summon, but that's not happening. because this card is going to get in the way of that. I'm going to go ahead and banish the Destruction Sword. He goes for Branded Fusion. Was not expecting that at all. So kind of in a weird spot. But like I said, he cannot use these effects on my face-up cards. So not much he's going to be able to do there. This is going to add Branded Fusion. So he does have follow-up. Kind of a weird hand here. But Crystal Shark is so good because like any 4 is equal to Stealth Kragen. And that's kind of really good. He's going to use Mirror Jade. Like I said, this is like the perfect card against this deck. It's like the anti-Mirror Jade matchup here. And if he gets rid of this, the spawn can come out, and then I just keep going and keep going and keep going. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that card to burn him for the rest of his life. So this card comes up a lot at the end of games when it comes to that. If your opponent plays, they're going to get burned, right, for that little bit left of damage. This is where Ryo comes in. Like I said, this card can win you duels. He has an N.A.S.H. We'll see where he ends up using it. Kind of curious. Not on this summon, but on the Dragoon. I think he knows about Mooling Glacier, probably. So that's why he waited for that to go so long. But it's better for me because that's going to give me a really, really good end board. It essentially didn't do anything because I had Lapis in my hand already. And I could bring out Xujin, and then I can, bring out Ryo. Plus the follow-up, right? This is follow-up. This is really good interruption. There's one monster effect. He's going to have to discard 1 card. Well, he's going to activate 2 monster effects. He's going to discard a card, search a card, and discard it if he wants to activate it, right? And then you think he's just going to pass it. All he had to do now is just go into the one of my Trishula monsters. Can't be targeted, or it has like a battle phase base effect, but I have non-targeting banishment all over the deck, all over. This is against Guru. Pretty good opening there, as you can see. Pot of Extravagance plus Subterror plus Field Spell. Pretty nice. He's going to go for the Hidden City. He's going to try to search. I'm going to go for Effect Veiler. I think I knew he had Fiendish, but if he uses it now, he's going to have another copy in his hand to use it. I've played Guru enough to know that that's a hard interaction. You always want to let this go through so you can search the Subterror Trap, but in this case, I'm like, okay, if you want that Subterror Trap, we're going to have to give up your Omni Negate, which he did not. He's going to go for Sky Prison, which I'm not really sure is all that necessary in Guru, to be completely honest with you. I'm going to go for Medallion, and then I can put 2 back, which is great. Putting in that Penguin card is always a good thing. I can bring this out. Now I can go into, my Gamir. This actually doesn't destroy, so that's fine. It's almost like a waste, in a sense, to use his Omni Negate on that. And I can discard with Dragoons. This is going to search me Mooling Glacier, and I can send one to the graveyard and set a card and pass. I think I was short 1 water monster going into the graveyard, which is very unfortunate. He tried to use the effect of Guru, and he is going to be able to search, but the whole deck runs through Subterror Guru. So if you don't have it, he's in a really bad spot. That's where you need to be. And if he tries to activate Dimensional Barrier, I did have the Imperm there in that column. That's why I didn't attack over this, which is pretty cool, pretty good. This is more Bee Troopers. This is a bit of a weird hand, right? You don't ever want to see Chiromancer in your hand. It's kind of sucky. But the other cards are good, right? This is going to be a good discard fodder. And I guess this would have been Small World in my regular list. So take that for what it is, I guess. I can go into Invincible Atlantis. Excuse me, Atlantis. Okay, so he's going to be able to bring this out. Goki Pole. I don't really know what Bee Troopers do, but I think I ashed this effect. It lets you summon a Bee Trooper from your deck, so I think that's Sting the Poison. Top deck of Revealer really makes all the difference in the world. So I'm going to be able to discard here. And Dragoons is going to search me. He's going to search or bring back Goki Pole, which isn't going to do anything. Lapis is a free special summon. And now I can go into the big Ice Jade Gamir. This is going to bring out Hexa, of course. I'm going to, lock him out of spells at the end of this turn. Or I can just go into Zero Dragon. These cards all have effects. One of them can't be destroyed by battle. One of them can't be destroyed by card effects, I'm pretty sure. But non-targeting banishment is one of the best forms of removal in the game. So I can bring out now Penguin Brave. How cool. It doesn't matter. I just needed it for damage, but I love Penguin Brave. So anytime that card comes out, it's just a good feeling. Okay, we'll just keep going. This is against Libromancer. I have a few duels against Libromancer. It has a half-decent matchup, surprisingly. I'm going to search Bujin just because it's the best discard fodder for Ice Barriers, right? I want to keep my hand traps. So that works out pretty well. And you always want to go for the spell and trap lock before you go into, Ryo. Unless you hard open the dude, then you probably don't want to go into it. But, can't activate spells, totally awesome, effect veiler, imperm. It's a good setup. He's going to have to literally just scoop. Okay, this is another duel against Libromancers. And I think he gets to go first. I do at least have one hand trap. I'm probably going to use it on Geek Boy. I've heard that's the best way to interrupt them, because I think this searches a Libromancer monster. So unless he had Geek Boy in his hand, he's not going to use it. And he's playing like 55 cards. The chances of that happening are probably quite low. The top deck he gets off of my deck is none other than evenly matched. So I got to be careful, but he waits way too long. If you don't know what these cards do, of course, that's always the advantage. So I'm going to go into, the new monster. He's going to try to chain redo it, but it has to detach for effect. So when I banish it, it actually just can't use it, which is kind of hilarious. He gets to take one of my cards, which is kind of funny. Oh, it was great. I put back Speaker and Crystal Shark. I got back Speaker and Crystal Shark. What are the chances? He's going to try to, quick effect, attach. This card says if you control another Mikenko monster, whatever you want to call it, you get to take control of one monster, but I just, N.A.S.H Knight quick effect, so it doesn't really do anything at all. And then I can set the Imperm here. This card isn't doing anything. And then he's going to try to activate the field spell. It actually banishes all copies from field and graveyard. So, pretty nice. This card just got absolutely decimated. And the other continuous spells, I have to, even though it searches on activation, you can still banish it and it doesn't go through. That's just how field spells work. Okay, this is against Naturia. Always nice to open up one hand trap, right? That's kind of the idea. Foolish Burial Goods is a good card in this deck. I've heard that Camellia is the best card to imperm in this deck, so that's why I did that. He's going to go for Spring Breeze, but like I said, this deck doesn't really use spell cards at all. So this card essentially doesn't do anything. If I opened up Medallion, that would suck, but that's really pretty much it. Yeah, being able to discard Crystal Shark is obviously very good because it's just a free extender. I can now go into the Gamir and go to the battle phase, right? That negates monster effects. Abyss Shark can search me another extender because I already had Crystal Shark. That's why I played this as a one of, and I can go into Stealth Kragen. I can pop this card because it's like a tribute quick effect, so don't want to let that happen. He's going to normal summon Vera, and I'm just going to pop that card, and that's it. That's all he can do. So I ended up playing that pretty decently. This is against Punk. I have Dark Rule no more, so should be pretty decent against Punk. I'm going to Ash this. I think Xiamen is probably always the best way to do this. He's going to go for the Synchro, I believe, or the Fusion, and the Fusion brings out 2 from the deck. I see a lot of people playing Punk, and the field spell for Punk is actually really, really good. Maybe a deck that I end up, taking a look at some point in time. I think he's also playing it with Libromancer. I don't really know where the synergy comes from, but here we are. This is the new continuous spell that sets a Libromancer spell and trap from the deck, so it's usually always the field spell from what I understand. Unless he continues on. My Ash Blossom didn't do too much, I'm guessing, but this is going to bring out an Omni counter trap, and then he's going to set. But I'm going to force out the Omni, the counter trap, so that's always a good thing. And he's going to bring back Agent. That's fine. I'm going to go for Medallion, and then I'm going to go for Moray, because I need another form of interruption here. Because these basically quick effect turn into, I think the Synchro or the Fusion. There's one that bounces back to the hand, and I obviously can't play through that, at all. So I can go into Stealth Kragen here, pop a card. No damage, but I'm at least going to be able to clear his board. I actually didn't mean to use the effect of this. That was a misclick, but that's all right. He is going to go for Geek Boy. He's going to use the effect. No real reason to use anything. He's going to try to Ritual Summon, so I'm going to negate there. Did have another copy in his hand, or he may have actually searched it, but I can't let him Ritual Summon, because otherwise he's going to be able to get over my stuff. He's going to go for Baron, but I used this earlier this turn, so this can't destroy. He's going to have to walk over this. He's going to end up crashing these. If he ever banishes a card, this gets to come back for free, but I get to normal summon there, which is kind of cool. There's no Synchro 5s really to go into, but I was looking up and I was like, wait, this guy doesn't have that many life points left. And like I said, in the deck profile, this card has a lot of attack, surprisingly. So 2,000 can actually get you pretty far. It's only 200 life points left, and you think like I'm kind of done for, but this burns. So any monster that's above 400 attack, he loses. So by him playing, he's already lost the duel. You would have to have like Dark Ruler or something like that. All right, just a few more replays, and this is against Sky Striker. As you can imagine, this opening combo is like pretty darn good against it. I'm gonna go for Murray, you know, tuck 2 back, and that was kind of weird. Kind of sucks to get rid of Revealer. You know, this discards for a cost, and you want to get Zujin into the graveyard. It has like no effect on field, so the follow-ups there, right? I have Imperm, I have Ash, and I have Toad. I didn't know what he was playing at the time, but yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. He was playing Sky Striker, so that's not good, obviously. He's going to go for Hayate. That's fine. I'm going to let him send, because if he goes for any spell card, like the more important thing to negate is Kagari, in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and negate there, and that's it. So he's going to go to the next turn. This is mine. Now Zujin can come out. He's going to go for Ghost Spell. That's fine. It doesn't really... That wasn't really even doing too much. He's going to try to go for Ray. If you can stop them from Ray summoning back, you essentially kind of win. And I'm going to... Actually, I made a mad misplay. I should have never attacked. This card can't use it. It cannot use its ability if you attack. So I used Toad. I should have just, you know, poked for 1,000 and then main phase 2 gone for another Toadally Awesome. I didn't do that though, which is kind of silly, and that's, I think it's gonna, you know, be very bad for me. But I can't use Shark Cannon now. Now I can use Bahamut Shark. I kind of lucked out by him, you know, getting something he didn't need to use. But like I said, getting Ray out of rotation is super important. And even like Dragoons is a level 4, so it does have a use even in the later stages of the game. Anything over 2,000 attack, I can burn for lethal, but he didn't have anything. Just some hand traps. 2 more. Oops, didn't mean to do that. This is against Trains. Everyone's using... You see this card in casual so much. It's kind of funny. Being able to discard Dragoons is obviously a very good thing. Hopefully I don't mess this up, because I want to get 5 into the graveyard. I think I do. I think I do mess this up really badly. And I should have been able to go into Moulin Glacier to get rid of 2 of his cards. Because I have... Let's see... Right now, I have 4. Do I have any way to get 1 back? I don't think so. I think I actually was like legitimately 1 short, and that's like super unfortunate. But my end board's still going to be very good. No spell cards, Omni Pop. He didn't have any spell cards, which kind of stinks, but against most, I would feel like that's pretty decent. I didn't know what I was playing at this point. I was going to try to use this for synchro material, but I don't think I actually have an option. So this ends up just being a 3k body that I stole, but it makes my zones kind of weird. I'm going to go ahead and pop this so you can't use the effect to search. I think that's probably the best way to go about this. And this is probably enough for lethal here. He's going to go for Dragon Prison. This is a Sea Serpent, but it doesn't really do anything. Solemn Strike just keeps going through, but yeah, I still have bodies up, right? I get to just, you know, go for game. Doesn't really matter that much. And then this is against Utopia, or Gadgets. This is a rank 4 deck, I guess, at the end of the day. Red Gadget searches Gold Gadget. Yeah, these cards are old-fashioned. You know, Imperm off the top is obviously huge. This card's insane. So good. And I can go ahead and send the Lapis back. And even if you redraw Lapis, it's actually really good because it counts as being added from deck to hand. So it ends up being a free special summon. I can go into Bahamut Shark. You know, I can send Warlock, which is most important. He's going to go for Nibiru. That's that 5th summon. So like I said, you can play around it. That works out pretty well. And then I can still go into Abyss Shark. This can give me the token. This can be a free special summon. And I can use Crystal Shark here. I ended up keeping Bahamut Shark on the field because I sent Toad back. I didn't need anything else in my hand at the moment. So I'm just going to use this as kind of like that lock, right? The spell lock and also the pop. I have Ash Blossom too, and then during my next turn, if he doesn't get rid of this Bahamut Shark, he's going to have to deal with Toad again. I think he goes for like Utopia double, and all I have to do is just pop this card, so this doesn't really do anything, and that's it. All right, so that's a long look. Geez, I didn't realize how long this video was. That's a long look at Ice Barriers. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.